Today we're talking about the circle of fifths and not the trips to the liquor store that my dad took religiously.
What?
Take a look at the circle of fifths. No, fists, not fists. Jeez! Circle of fifths. Now look, I'm not going to use all the big technical music jargon-ish stuff because it doesn't matter, okay? I mean, I would love to do that so I could impress you guys and get cool points among musicians, but I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to be the douche who keeps his head in the middle of this diagram, so let's shrink it on down. Shrinkage. As you go from note to note on the circle of fifths, you're moving up by perfect fifths. What are perfect fifths? It's the fifth note within any major key that you're in. And the reason it's called that is because it is the closest note outside of the octave of the key you're in that's going to sound the most sonically balanced. Okay, now what does this do? It does nothing, but it is a tool. Now imagine you had a hammer and a measuring tape. Both are tools, but only one can actually do a physical job, while the other sets you up for it. Now to fully understand the circle of fifths, you gotta go back to the fundamental foundation, and that is the system of whole steps and half steps and intervals. What are intervals? They are notes. Each individual note on your guitar is referred to as intervals. Now hopefully you understand the whole and half system and how that works within major and minor keys, but if you don't, it's okay. Go to the description. I've tagged a couple of videos that'll explain that. I would suggest just stopping right here, watching that, and then coming back. So, here's why this thing is so freaking cool. First off, let's say you are going to play in the key of G major. We're going to go back to C major. That's what we're looking at today. But let's just say you're going to play in the key of G major. What notes are in the key of G major? If you don't know, you don't know. How do you know? You can go right here to the circle of fifths and see, and you'll find that in the key of G major is 1 sharp, F sharp. This right here is a perfect way for you to memorize what sharps and flats are within each key. Later on that. Oh hey, we know what notes are within the key of C major, but what chords do we play? Easy as this. Check out the circle of fifths. C major, second note is going to be D minor, third, E minor, fourth, F major, fifth, G major, sixth note is going to be A minor, seventh note is going to technically be a B diminished, but you can use a B minor or a B7 chord and substitute. Now you may have heard the term before, relative minor. And when it comes to C major, what is the relative minor? Well, look right above the note of C off to the side. The relative minor of C major is A minor. And what does this mean? Basically, it means they're going to sound really good together. And by the way, this is why a minor pentatonic scale sounds so good over a major progression. To find the relative minor of any major key, just go up to the 6th note. If you're looking for the relative major within a minor scale, just go up to the 3rd note. Now, the circle of fifths is actually doing 3 things for you. One is telling you if there's any sharps or flats within the key that you've selected. And also, it is telling you the individual notes within the major key, if you want to play lead or something over it, and the major and minor chords that are going to work in harmony together within the key. What are chord progressions? Well, they are basically represented by Roman numerals, uppercase and lowercase. If it's an uppercase Roman numeral, it's a major chord. If it's lowercase, it's a minor chord. Here's some popular chord progressions. You might even recognize a few as you start to play them. Hell, make up your own, because all of these chords are going to sound ranging from excellent to at least good, because they're all in the key family. So we now know the major chord progression formula and how it's numbered, but what if you're not about all the happy sounding stuff and you want something minor, something a little more serious? Well, I'm not going to make it complicated because it's not complicated. Take a look real quick at the major chord progression. All you do to make it a minor chord progression is go to the 2nd note. So that whole thing just shifts up 1 and starts from there. Say you go to the next note after C going clockwise. You're going to G. Well, we've already discussed there is 1 sharp in the key of G major. How do we know? Well, I told you, and you can see it above. F sharp. As you go around, let's go to the next note, to D. Guess what? How many sharps are there going to be? 2. Beginning in the G major key and continuing clockwise, you're going to find a new sharp on every new key on the 7th note. And for each new key you come to clockwise, you're going to drag all the sharps you had from previous onto it, plus the new 7th sharp of the key. This is where things get confusing a lot of times, and it confused the hell out of me. Once you go past B major, you are now at F sharp, but it's also G flat. G flat, F sharp, they both sound the same, okay? And I'm only gonna use one big word. I promised I wasn't gonna use any big words, but You need to know this word because this is what it is. Enharmonic equivalent. It's visually written a certain way so it can be an understanding of note order, but it's audibly the same. This has confused so many musicians throughout time, myself included, big time. But hopefully this can clear up the next little thing here too. After F sharp, if we're counting up to the next fifth, we're going to be at C sharp. But that's not up there anywhere. The next one up is just D flat. Well, once again, D flat and C sharp major are both enharmonic equivalents. They sound exactly the same, they're just notated differently. Well, my friend, you just about have the circle of fifths locked down, but there's one last itty bitty thing.
The circle of fourths.
Now the circle of fourths works almost the same as the circle of fifths, but instead of going clockwise up to the fifth note, we're starting back up at the top at C and we're going counterclockwise to the fourth note. So what is the fourth note within the key of C major? C, D, E, F. So boom, we're on F, and this is where you'll find your first flat. Now just like we added a new sharp going clockwise with the circle of fifths on the seventh note, with this system we're adding a new flat starting on the key of F major on every fourth note. In this case, it'll be a B flat, one sharp within the key of F major. Next up, circle of fourths, we're going to the next note, and that'll be what we just said, B flat. And this system works identically to its cousin, the circle of fifths, all the way up to the key of B, which is the enharmonic equivalent of C flat. And there you go, my friend. That is the circle of fifths and fourths. I hope sincerely that it helped you. Remember to keep looking at it, keep studying it, analyzing it. The more and more you do, the more and more it'll make sense. Forwards and backwards and all the way around.